In the 2010 Berkshire annual meeting, you mentioned that you would ask the CEO about cash distribution to shareholders as the cash pile grows. Do you still have confidence in the future prospects of over $100 billion cash on hand, or are we nearing cash distributions?
The one thing, if Berkshire shares are selling for less than we think they're worth, that could be a pretty big way to distribute cash. But what we'd really like to do is buy great businesses. If we could buy a company for $50 billion or $75 billion, $100 billion, we could do it. And we can do it, and our word's good. It's difficult with a public company because, in effect, if you bid on a company, you make the bid, and their shareholders vote months later, and you're giving an option. If we're good for it, and the other guy has a way to top you, or all kinds of things, they can get out of it, and you get paid 2% for that or 1% for that. That is not an appropriate price. And on the other hand, Delaware will decide whether they should do it or not, and that's the way the world is. I mean, that's the law. So it'd be easier to do with a private company, and there aren't very many that are big. On the other hand, there's nobody else that can quite make a deal like we can under the right circumstances. And there could be a situation where a number of very decent companies have got a very uncomfortable borrowing structure, and money comes due to them at the exact wrong time, and that's when they pick up a phone, as did Tiffany and Harley Davidson and you name it. I mean, a whole bunch of companies in 2008. That sort of thing will happen again, whether it results in us getting the calls or what the world is exactly at that time. But the one thing we know is that the number of phone calls that you can make at a time like that is very, very limited, and there can be good companies. They don't want to sell the company necessarily, but they just may need $5 or $10 or $20 billion, depending on what company you're talking about, and that can happen. And our own shareholders can be selling the stock too cheap, and we'll never do anything to make them sell it cheap, and we'll tell them the truth about what the business is. But if market circumstances result in us being able to buy in $50 billion of our own stock, we'll buy it. So we'll see what the world holds. But we don't have the opportunities we used to have, but we've got enough, and we're making money with the things we have. It isn't killing us to hold 130 billion of bills at 5% plus bond equivalent yields, and everybody says, well, yields are going to go down in the future. I don't have the faintest idea what yields are going to do in the future. And the prime rate was 21.5% in 1981 or 2, and people were worried that it was going to go totally spin out of control. And Volcker kept it from happening. But if Volcker hadn't been in there, who the hell knows what would have happened? So we're running Berkshire so that we'll do okay, and maybe we'll do a little bit better than okay. Charlie?
Okay, maybe fine.
Despite having over $100 billion in cash on hand, Buffett believes that Berkshire's shares are undervalued. He suggests that one way to address this could be to distribute cash to shareholders. This would increase demand for the stock and potentially lead to a rise in share price. He explains that Berkshire is always looking for opportunities to acquire great businesses, but it can be difficult to make deals with public companies. This is because the bid is made and then shareholders vote months later. This creates an opportunity for the other party to top the bid, and there are many legal hurdles to overcome. He suggests that there could be opportunities in the future for Berkshire to acquire distressed companies. He cites companies like Tiffany and Harley Davidson as examples of businesses that may need cash infusions at the right time. However, he acknowledges that the number of companies that will need this type of help is limited. Despite having a large amount of cash on hand, Buffett is focused on making smart investments with it. He acknowledges that the yields on bonds are low, but he believes that Berkshire will be able to find good opportunities in the future. He is confident that Berkshire is positioned to do well, and possibly even better than just okay.